A rainy night and a broken bond. The city was cloaked in darkness, save for the faint glow of streetlights reflecting off the wet pavement. Jason Matthews sat at the dining table, his tie loosened and his shoulders slumped. It had been another long day at work, filled with back-to-back meetings, endless emails, and the kind of stress that felt like a constant weight pressing on his chest. The house was eerily quiet, save for the faint hum of the refrigerator. He looked toward the empty living room, where his 10-year-old son Liam would usually be playing video games or drawing sketches of superheroes. But tonight, the silence was heavy, almost accusatory. Jason's eyes wandered to the framed photo on the wall, a picture of him and Liam at the beach 2 summers ago. They were both grinning, sunburnt, and carefree. That was before the promotion, before the 70-hour work weeks, before the endless pile of responsibilities that made him feel like a stranger in his own home. Liam's bedroom door was ajar, and Jason could see the dim glow of a desk lamp spilling out. With a sigh, he stood up, his footsteps soft on the hardwood floor as he approached. Peeking inside, he saw Liam hunched over his desk, a pencil in hand, drawing furiously. His face was a mask of concentration, but there was a shadow of something else. Loneliness. "Hey, buddy," Jason said softly, leaning against the doorframe. Liam didn't look up. "Hey." Jason winced. The one-word reply was a dagger to his heart. "What are you working on?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Just a drawing," Liam replied, his tone flat. Jason walked in and crouched beside him, glancing at the paper. It was a sketch of a superhero, a boy in a cape, standing atop a building, his fists clenched and his eyes blazing with determination. Jason smiled faintly. "That's amazing, Liam. What's his name?" Liam hesitated before mumbling. "Doesn't matter." Jason's smile faltered. "Why doesn't it matter?" Finally, Liam looked at him, his eyes wide and brimming with emotion. "Because he's just pretend. In real life, no one listens to me. Not even you." The words hit Jason like a punch to the gut. He opened his mouth to protest, but the look on Liam's face stopped him. He couldn't deny it. He had been absent, distracted, and unavailable. Work had consumed him, and Liam had been left in the shadows. "I'm sorry," Jason said quietly. "I've been caught up in things, but you matter, Liam. You matter more than anything." Liam shrugged, his gaze dropping back to his drawing. "It doesn't feel like it." Jason swallowed the lump in his throat. He needed to do something big, to show Liam that he wasn't just an afterthought. And then, an idea struck him, simple but profound. "What if," Jason began, his voice tentative, "what if you got to be in charge for a day?" Liam's head shot up, his eyes narrowing in suspicion. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Jason said, a small smile tugging at his lips, "what if tomorrow you were the boss? You call the shots. Whatever you say goes. I'll listen to you, no questions asked." Liam stared at him, his expression a mix of disbelief and cautious hope. "You mean it?" "I mean it," Jason said, his tone firm. "One day. Anything you want." Liam's lips twitched into a hesitant smile. "Anything." Jason nodded. "Anything within reason. Deal." Liam extended his hand, and Jason shook it, sealing the promise. For the first time in months, Jason saw a spark of excitement in his son's eyes, and it warmed his heart. Tomorrow would be a new beginning, a chance to reconnect, to make things right. The morning of chaos. The next morning, Jason woke to the sound of pots and pans clanging in the kitchen. Rubbing his eyes, he stumbled out of bed and made his way downstairs, only to find Liam standing on a chair, rummaging through the cabinets. "Good morning, boss," Jason said, stifling a yawn. "What's the plan for today?" Liam turned to him with a mischievous grin. "First rule, no boring breakfasts. We're having ice cream." Jason blinked. "Ice cream? For breakfast?" "Yup," Liam said, hopping off the chair and grabbing 2 bowls. "Boss's orders." Jason chuckled and shook his head. "All right. Ice cream it is." They sat at the kitchen table, each with a bowl of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. Liam dug in with gusto, his eyes sparkling with delight. Jason couldn't help but laugh. It was such a small thing, but it felt monumental to see his son so happy. "So," Jason said between bites, "what's next on the agenda, boss?" Liam leaned back in his chair, tapping his chin thoughtfully. "We're going to your office." Jason froze. "My office? Why?" "Because it's boring," Liam said matter-of-factly. "And I'm going to fix it." Jason opened his mouth to protest, but then he remembered his promise. "All right," he said reluctantly. "But just don't get me fired, okay?" A boss's arrival. When they arrived at Jason's office, heads turned. The sight of Liam striding confidently through the hallway, his chin held high, was enough to draw amused smiles and raised eyebrows. Jason trailed behind him, his expression a mix of nervousness and amusement. Liam walked into the conference room, where Jason's team was gathered for their morning meeting. He climbed onto a chair at the head of the table, cleared his throat, and said, "Good morning, everyone. I'm the boss today." The room erupted into laughter, but Liam's serious expression quickly silenced them. "I'm not kidding," he said, his voice steady. "My dad said I could be in charge, so I'm here to make some changes." Jason watched in awe as Liam began to lay out his rules. They were simple but surprisingly thoughtful. More breaks to reduce stress, a fun zone with games to help employees relax, and a policy that no one could work late without a very good reason. At first, the team exchanged skeptical glances, unsure whether to take him seriously. But as Liam spoke, his sincerity and enthusiasm began to win them over. By the end of the meeting, they were nodding in agreement, some even clapping. Jason couldn't believe what he was seeing. His son, a 10-year-old kid, had managed to inspire his team in a way that he hadn't been able to in years. A growing connection. As the day went on, Jason and Liam tackled one challenge after another. Liam's ideas were unconventional, but they brought a fresh perspective that Jason couldn't deny was effective. The office felt lighter, more energized, and Jason found himself seeing his colleagues and his own work through a new lens. But the best part of the day wasn't the changes in the office. It was the moments in between. The shared laughter, the way Liam's eyes lit up every time Jason praised him. The feeling of being a team. For the first time in a long time, Jason felt truly connected to his son. That evening, as they sat on the couch, exhausted but happy, Liam turned to Jason and said, "Today was the best day ever." Jason smiled, his heart full. "You were an amazing boss, Liam. I'm proud of you." Liam beamed, and Jason knew that this was just the beginning. The promise he had made, the simple act of letting Liam take charge, had opened a door to something deeper. It wasn't just about fun or games. It was about trust, respect, and the bond between a father and his son. And as Jason tucked Liam into bed that night, he made another promise to himself, to never let work come before his family again. Because if there was one thing he had learned that day, it was this: being a boss might be important, but being a dad was everything. The aftermath of the morning meeting. By the time Liam finished laying down his rules in the conference room, Jason's colleagues were thoroughly entertained and a little curious. Most had worked with Jason long enough to know that he was meticulous, professional, and frankly, a bit too serious. Seeing his 10-year-old son confidently outline a Fun Zone initiative was a breath of fresh air. "All right, team," Liam announced, hopping down from the chair. "Now, I need everyone's help to make these changes happen. Remember, happy employees do better work." The team exchanged amused glances, but nodded, playing along. Jason stood at the back of the room, half nervous, half proud. His son's enthusiasm was contagious, and even the skeptical senior staff couldn't help but smile. Liam, Jason said as the meeting wrapped up. "Great job. But, maybe we should take it one step at a time." Liam grinned up at him, eyes sparkling. "No way, Dad. If you're gonna make a change, you have to go all in. That's what superheroes do." Jason chuckled, ruffling Liam's hair. "All right, boss. Lead the way." Transforming the office, Liam wasted no time getting to work. His first stop, the break room. Jason's office break room was the epitome of dull. A cramped space with gray walls, a microwave that looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years, and a few sad-looking chairs around a plastic table. Liam stood in the doorway, surveying the scene with a critical eye. "This is depressing," he declared. "No wonder people are stressed out here." Jason opened his mouth to protest but stopped himself. He had promised to let Liam call the shots after all. "Okay," Liam said, hands on his hips. "First rule, we need snacks. Lots of snacks. And games. And maybe some plants. Plants make people happy." Jason sighed. "Snacks and games, I can do. Plants might take a bit longer." Within an hour, the break room was transformed. Liam had raided the vending machine budget to stock up on chips, candy, and soda, much to the delight of Jason's coworkers. He also convinced Jason to drag in an old ping-pong table from the storage room. "Now," Liam said, admiring his work, "it feels like a place where people can actually relax." Jason had to admit, it was a significant improvement. And judging by the laughter and chatter from his team, they agreed. The Fun Zone experiment. Liam's next big idea was the Fun Zone initiative. During the morning meeting, he had proposed creating a designated area in the office where employees could unwind during breaks. His reasoning: happy brains are better brains. Jason led him to an unused corner of the office, a dusty space filled with filing cabinets no one had touched in years. "This is perfect," Liam said, his eyes lighting up. "We'll need beanbags, some board games, maybe a little basketball hoop." Jason raised an eyebrow. "You do realize this isn't a playground, right?" "Not yet," Liam replied with a cheeky grin. Over the next few hours, Liam worked tirelessly to bring his vision to life. With the help of Jason's team, they cleared out the old furniture and brought in colorful cushions, a small shelf for games, and even a mini-hoop they found in one of the storage closets. By the time they finished, the corner looked nothing like the rest of the office. It was vibrant, welcoming, and most importantly, fun. "All right," Liam said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Time for a test run." He grabbed a basketball and shot it into the hoop, missing spectacularly. Jason laughed as Liam retrieved the ball and tried again, this time making the shot. "Dad, you try," Liam called, tossing the ball to Jason. Jason hesitated. He couldn't remember the last time he played basketball, or done anything remotely playful, for that matter. But seeing the excitement in Liam's eyes, he couldn't say no. He took a shot, missing just as badly as Liam had. They both burst into laughter, and for a moment, Jason felt like a kid again. Winning over the skeptics. Not everyone in the office was immediately on board with Liam's changes. Mark, one of Jason's senior managers, was particularly vocal about his doubts. "This is all very unorthodox," Mark said, crossing his arms as he watched Liam set up a chessboard in the Fun Zone. "We're running a business, not a daycare." Jason bristled, but kept his tone calm. "Mark, it's just for one day. Let's see how it goes." Mark muttered something under his breath but didn't push the issue further. However, Jason couldn't help but notice the way Mark's eyes lingered on the Fun Zone, as if he was secretly intrigued. Later that afternoon, Jason walked by the Fun Zone and stopped in his tracks. There, sitting cross-legged on a beanbag, was Mark, deep in concentration as he played chess with Liam. Jason couldn't suppress a grin. Liam had done it. He had won over the office's toughest critic. A surprising revelation. As the day went on, Liam's influence began to spread. Employees who had been stressed and overworked suddenly seemed lighter, laughing and chatting as they took breaks in the fun zone. Productivity didn't drop, as Jason had feared. In fact, it seemed to improve. Jason found himself marveling at his son's instincts. Liam didn't have a degree in management or years of corporate experience, but he understood something fundamental. People work better when they feel happy and appreciated. "Dad," Liam said later that afternoon as they sat in the break room, sharing a bag of chips, "why don't you do stuff like this all the time?" Jason paused, caught off guard by the question. "What do you mean?" "I mean, you're the boss, right? You can make things fun if you want to. So, why don't you?" Jason didn't have an answer. He had spent so much time focusing on deadlines and deliverables that he hadn't stopped to think about the people behind them. Liam's question lingered in his mind, sparking a realization that would change the way he approached his work and his life. The boss's big idea. As the day drew to a close, Jason gathered his team in the conference room for a quick debrief. Liam sat at the head of the table, beaming with pride. "I just want to say," Jason began, "thank you all for going along with this experiment. I know it's been different, but I think we've all learned something today." The team nodded, murmuring their agreement. Jason turned to Liam. "And to our boss for the day. You've taught us more than you know." "Thank you, Liam." The room erupted into applause, and Liam's face lit up with a mixture of joy and disbelief. Jason felt a lump rise in his throat as he watched his son soak in the moment. This day had been about more than fun and games. It had been about connection, growth, and the power of fresh perspectives. As the applause died down, Jason made a decision. "From now on," he announced, "we're keeping the fun zone, and we're going to start making employee happiness a priority. Because Liam's right. Happy brains are better brains." The team cheered, and Liam grinned from ear to ear. Jason knew it wasn't a typical management strategy, but it felt right. For the first time in years, he felt like he was leading with purpose. The end of the day. That evening, as they drove home, Liam leaned back in his seat, looking exhausted but happy. "Dad," he said, his voice soft, "today was awesome." Jason glanced at him, a smile tugging at his lips. "You were amazing, Liam. I'm proud of you." Liam's eyes sparkled. "Do you think I'd make a good boss someday?" Jason chuckled. "I don't think. You already are." As they pulled into the driveway, Jason realized something profound. This day hadn't just been a gift for Liam. It had been a gift for him, too. A chance to see the world through his son's eyes and rediscover the joy he had been missing. And as they walked inside, Jason made a silent promise to keep that joy alive, not just for a day, but every day. A new day, a new perspective. Jason woke up the next morning feeling different. The usual dread of facing another long day at work was gone, replaced by a strange sense of excitement. Liam's boss for a day experiment had turned out better than Jason could have imagined. His office was buzzing with a renewed energy. His team seemed happier, and for the first time in years, Jason felt genuinely connected to his work and the people around him. But most importantly, he felt connected to Liam. "Morning, Dad." Liam's cheerful voice broke Jason's thoughts. Jason turned to see his son bounding into the kitchen, a wide grin on his face. "Morning, buddy," Jason replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee. "You sleep well?" "Yup," Liam said, grabbing a piece of toast. "I was just thinking. Yesterday was awesome. Do you think your office is going to keep the fun zone?" Jason chuckled. "Oh, I think they're hooked now. You've changed the place for good." Liam's eyes sparkled with pride, and Jason felt a swell of warmth in his chest. He realized something in that moment. His son had taught him more about leadership in one day than he had learned in years, taking it to the next level. As Jason dropped Liam off at school, his mind raced with ideas. The office changes Liam had introduced, snack breaks, the fun zone, and even something as simple as encouraging smiles, had worked wonders. It was as if a spark had been lit, and Jason was determined to keep the fire going. By the time Jason arrived at work, he had a plan. "Morning, everyone," he said as he stepped into the office. His team, gathered near the coffee machine, greeted him with smiles. Jason felt a pang of guilt. How many mornings had he walked past them without so much as a hello? "I've been thinking," Jason began, "about what Liam taught us yesterday. He reminded me of something we often forget in the hustle of our jobs. People matter. So, starting today, I want us to focus on making this office a place where people actually enjoy working." His team exchanged surprised but intrigued glances. Jason continued, outlining a series of initiatives inspired by Liam's ideas. They would implement flexible breaks, team-building activities, and even weekly Fun Fridays, where the last hour of the day would be reserved for games, snacks, or simply unwinding. And Jason added, his tone serious, "I want all of you to feel comfortable sharing your ideas, no matter how small or unconventional they might seem. We're a team, and every voice matters." As Jason spoke, he noticed something shift in the room. The usual guarded expressions of his team melted into smiles and nods. For the first time, Jason felt like a true leader, not just someone who gave orders, but someone who inspired. An unexpected visitor. Later that afternoon, as Jason worked on a project in his office, he heard a soft knock at the door. "Come in," he called, expecting one of his employees. Instead, he looked up to see Mark, his senior manager, standing hesitantly in the doorway. "Mark," Jason said, surprised. "What can I do for you?" Mark shifted uncomfortably before stepping inside. "I just wanted to." "Oh, thank you." "And Liam." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Thank us? For what?" "For reminding me why I started this job in the first place," Mark admitted, his voice uncharacteristically soft. "I've been so focused on numbers and deadlines that I forgot about the people behind them. Watching Liam yesterday, seeing how he treated everyone with kindness and enthusiasm, it made me realize I've been doing it all wrong." Jason felt a lump rise in his throat. Mark was one of the toughest, most pragmatic people he knew. Hearing him speak with such vulnerability was unexpected and deeply moving. "Well," Jason said, smiling, "it's never too late to make a change." Mark nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. "You're right. And for what it's worth, I think Liam's got a bright future ahead of him." Jason laughed. "Yeah, I think so too." The ripple effect. As the days turned into weeks, the changes Liam had inspired continued to take root. The fun zone became a favorite spot in the office, not just for breaks, but for brainstorming sessions and team bonding. Employees who had once kept their heads down and avoided interaction were now laughing, collaborating, and sharing ideas. But the impact didn't stop at the office. Jason began to notice changes in himself as well. He started coming home earlier, carving out time to play games with Liam or help him with his homework. He made a conscious effort to leave work stress at the door, focusing instead on being present with his son. The bond they had rebuilt during Liam's boss day grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching a movie, Liam turned to Jason with a thoughtful expression. "Dad," he said, "do you ever think about what it's like to be a superhero?" Jason smiled. "All the time, buddy. Why do you ask?" "Because yesterday at school, I told my teacher about what we did at your office," Liam explained. "And she said that was a superhero thing to do, making people happy." Jason felt his heart swell. "Well, your teacher's right. You were the superhero, Liam. You made all of us better." Liam beamed, and Jason realized just how much his son had grown, not just in confidence, but in understanding the power of kindness and leadership. A test of the new leadership. Despite the positive changes in the office, not everything was smooth sailing. A week after implementing the new initiatives, Jason faced his first major challenge. One of the company's biggest clients had raised concerns about a delayed project, threatening to take their business elsewhere. Jason called an emergency meeting, his team gathering around the conference table with tense expressions. "We need to fix this," Jason said, his tone calm but firm. "But I don't want anyone to panic. Let's focus on solutions." As the team brainstormed, Jason noticed a shift in the room. Instead of blaming each other or making excuses, his employees worked together, sharing ideas and supporting one another. The fun zone had created a sense of camaraderie that extended beyond breaks and games. It had transformed the way they approached challenges. By the end of the meeting, they had come up with a solid plan to address the client's concerns. Jason felt a surge of pride as he watched his team leave the room, energized and determined. Later that evening, Jason reflected on the day's events. He realized that Liam's influence had gone deeper than he had initially thought. His son's simple but profound ideas about leadership had created a ripple effect, changing not just the culture of the office, but the way Jason and his team faced adversity. A lesson in gratitude. The following weekend, Jason and Liam spent the afternoon at the park, tossing a frisbee back and forth. As they sat on a bench, taking a break, Jason turned to Liam with a thoughtful expression. "Liam," he said, "do you know what the most important thing you taught me is?" Liam tilted his head, curious. "What?" "That being a leader isn't about giving orders or making big decisions," Jason said. "It's about listening, caring, and making people feel valued. You reminded me of that, and I'll never forget it." Liam's cheeks flushed with pride. "Thanks, Dad, but you're the one who let me be the boss. So maybe we make a good team." Jason laughed, pulling Liam into a hug. "Yeah, I think we do." As they sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Jason felt a deep sense of gratitude. For his son, for the lessons he had learned, and for the opportunity to grow, not just as a leader, but as a father. A calm morning before the storm. The sun streamed through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table. Jason sipped his coffee, savoring the rare moment of peace before the day began. Across the table, Liam was busy sketching another superhero, a boy with a glowing shield, standing protectively in front of a crowd. "Who's that?" Jason asked, leaning over to admire the drawing. "This is Captain Courage," Liam said, not looking up. "He's the kind of hero who doesn't fight with his fists. He protects people by standing up for what's right." Jason smiled. "Sounds like a pretty amazing hero." Liam grinned. "He's my favorite so far." Jason nodded, feeling a swell of pride. It amazed him how much wisdom and empathy his son packed into such a small frame. Liam's imagination and heart were boundless, a combination that reminded Jason of the values he wanted to bring to his own work. But as Jason kissed Liam goodbye and headed to the office, he had no idea how much those values were about to be tested. The unexpected call. Jason had just settled into his desk when his phone buzzed. It was Claire, the company's operations manager, and her tone was unusually tense. "Jason, we got a problem," she said. "The client from last week, the one we thought we'd smooth things over with, they're back with more demands. And this time, they're threatening to terminate the contract entirely." Jason's stomach dropped. The client, Hamilton Tech, wasn't just any account. They represented a significant portion of the company's revenue. Losing them would be a blow, not just financially, but to the morale of the team, which had been riding high after recent successes. "Okay," Jason said, forcing calm into his voice. "Let's call a meeting and figure out our next steps." As he hung up, Jason felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just about saving the contract. It was about maintaining the progress they'd made. The trust, the camaraderie, the new sense of purpose. It was all on the line. The team meeting. Tension and ideas. The conference room was filled with uneasy energy as Jason's team gathered. Mark, Claire, and several others sat around the table, their faces tense. Even the usually lighthearted atmosphere was replaced with murmurs of concern. Jason stood at the head of the table, taking a moment to survey the group. He could feel their anxiety, their doubt. But he also knew they were stronger than they realized. "All right, everyone," Jason began, his voice steady. "Let's start with what we know. Hamilton Tech isn't happy. They've listed new demands, and we have to address them. But I want to make one thing clear. We've been through challenges before, and we'll get through this one too. Together." His words seemed to ease some of the tension in the room. He glanced at Liam's influence board in the corner, a small whiteboard the team had kept from Boss for a day. On it, someone had scribbled one of Liam's rules. "Happy brains are better brains." Jason smiled inwardly. That simple mantra had become a guiding principle for the team. "Let's hear some ideas," Jason said. "Nothing is off the table." Claire spoke first, outlining the client's main complaints and potential solutions. Others chimed in, offering suggestions, brainstorming ways to exceed the client's expectations. The energy in the room shifted, from anxious to determined. The collaboration was a testament to the culture Liam had helped foster, a culture of openness, trust, and innovation. An unusual idea. As the team debated strategies, Mark leaned forward, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What if we invited Hamilton Tech here? Instead of just responding to their demands, we bring them in for a day and show them what we're about." The room fell silent. "It's risky," Claire said cautiously. "If they see anything they don't like, it could backfire." "But it could also show them the changes we've made," Mark countered. "The fun zone, the collaboration, the energy. It's not just for us. It's part of who we are now. Maybe it'll remind them why they chose us in the first place." Jason considered the idea. It was bold, unconventional, and entirely in line with the new direction they were taking. "I like it," Jason said finally. "Let's do it." The Hamilton Tech visit. The day of Hamilton Tech's visit arrived, and the office was buzzing with anticipation. Jason had prepared his team, emphasizing the importance of authenticity. "We're not putting on a show," he told them. "We're just being us." Liam had even gotten involved, helping Jason brainstorm ideas for the visit. "You should show them the fun zone," Liam had said, "and make sure they see how happy everyone is." As the Hamilton Tech representatives arrived, Jason greeted them with a warm smile. There were 3 of them: David, their CEO, Rachel, the head of operations, and a stern-looking man named Thomas, who Jason assumed was the deal-breaker. "Welcome," Jason said, shaking their hands. "We're excited to have you here." Over the course of the day, Jason and his team walked the clients through their processes, showcased their recent projects, and, of course, gave them a tour of the fun zone. To Jason's surprise, even Thomas cracked a smile when he saw Mark attempting a shot on the mini basketball hoop. But the real turning point came during lunch. Jason had arranged for a casual team meal, with everyone sitting together at a long table. The conversation flowed easily, and for a moment, the lines between clients and colleagues blurred. It was Liam's influence again, his belief in connection, in seeing people as more than their roles. The unexpected question. As the day wound down, David, Hamilton Tech CEO, pulled Jason aside. "I'll admit, we came here ready to walk away," David said, his tone candid. "But seeing your team today, it reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Work isn't just about results. It's about the people who make those results possible." Jason felt a surge of relief and pride. "That means a lot, David. We've been working hard to build a culture that reflects those values." David nodded, a small smile on his lips. "You've got something special here, Jason, and I think we'd be fools to let it go. A victory worth celebrating." As the Hamilton Tech team left, Jason gathered his employees in the fun zone. "I just want to say how proud I am of all of you," Jason said, his voice ringing with sincerity. "Today wasn't just about saving the contract. It was about showing who we are, and you did that beautifully. Thank you." The room erupted into cheers, and for a moment, Jason just stood there, soaking it all in. His team wasn't just a group of coworkers anymore. They were a family, a father's reflection. That evening, Jason picked Liam up from his friend's house. As they drove home, he recounted the day's events, including Hamilton Tech's decision to stay. "That's awesome, Dad," Liam exclaimed. "See, I told you happy brains work better." Jason laughed. "You were right." As always. Liam grinned, then grew thoughtful. "Do you think Captain Courage would be proud?" Jason glanced at his son, his heart swelling with love. "I think he'd say you're the real hero, Liam. You showed us how to be brave, kind, and true to ourselves. And that's the best kind of courage." Liam beamed, and Jason felt a deep sense of gratitude. His son had not only changed the office but had changed him. And as they pulled into the driveway, Jason made a silent vow to keep building on the foundation Liam had laid, at work and at home. A new chapter begins. Weeks had passed since the Hamilton Tech visit, and Jason's office felt like a different place. The changes inspired by Liam's Boss for a Day initiative had taken root, transforming not just the physical space, but the very culture of the workplace. Meetings were more collaborative, breaks were filled with laughter, and even the most challenging projects were approached with a newfound sense of camaraderie. For Jason, the transformation wasn't just professional, it was personal. His relationship with Liam had deepened in ways he hadn't thought possible, and the lessons his son had taught him continued to shape his decisions, both at work and at home. But as Jason would soon learn, true leadership isn't just about making changes. It's about ensuring those changes endure. The announcement. One Friday morning, Jason called a company-wide meeting. The atmosphere in the conference room was lively, with employees chatting and joking as they settled into their seats. Jason stood at the front, waiting for the room to quiet down. "Good morning, everyone," he began, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for embracing the changes we've made over the past few weeks. This office feels alive again, and it's because of your openness, creativity, and teamwork." The room broke into applause, and Jason smiled, feeling the surge of pride. Once the clapping subsided, he continued. "Today, I have an announcement," he said. "We're introducing a new initiative, the Leadership Legacy Program." The room buzzed with curiosity, and Jason held up a hand to explain. "This program is about empowering each of you to step into leadership roles, no matter your title or position. It's about cultivating a culture where everyone feels they have a voice and the ability to make a difference." Jason paused, letting the words sink in. And to kick it off, he added with a grin, "I've invited a very special guest to help us understand what leadership really means." At that moment, the door opened, and Liam walked in, his face beaming with excitement. The room erupted into applause and cheers as the young boy waved shyly. Jason put a hand on Liam's shoulder. "Many of you already know Liam, our honorary boss. He's here today to share his thoughts on what makes a great leader." Liam stepped up to the front, clutching a small stack of note cards. He looked out at the room, his expression a mix of nervousness and determination. Liam's speech. "Hi, everyone," Liam began, his voice trembling slightly. I just wanted to say thank you for letting me be the boss for a day. It was really fun, but it was also really important." The room fell silent, every eye focused on the 10-year-old boy at the front. "I learned that being a boss isn't just about telling people what to do," Liam continued, gaining confidence. "It's about listening, caring, and making people feel happy. When people are happy, they do better work. And when they do better work, everything gets better." Liam glanced at Jason, who gave him an encouraging nod. "My dad taught me that being a leader is about helping people be their best selves," Liam said, his voice steady now. "And I think everyone can be a leader in their own way. You just have to believe in yourself and believe in the people around you." The room erupted into applause once again, and Liam's cheeks turned bright red. Jason pulled him into a hug, his heart swelling with pride. The ripple effect. Over the following weeks, the Leadership Legacy Program began to take shape. Employees were encouraged to take ownership of projects, propose new ideas, and mentor their peers. Jason noticed a shift in the way people interacted. There was a sense of mutual respect and empowerment that hadn't existed before. One day, Claire approached Jason with an idea for a community outreach initiative. "What if we partnered with local schools to teach students about teamwork and leadership?" she suggested. Jason's eyes lit up. "That's a fantastic idea, Claire. Let's make it happen." The initiative, called Future Leaders, quickly became a cornerstone of the company's culture. Employees volunteered to visit schools, share their experiences, and mentor students. And at the center of it all was Liam, who often accompanied his dad to the events, sharing his own story with kids his age. A challenge arises. Despite the program's success, not everyone embraced the changes. A small group of employees resisted the new culture, arguing that it was distracting from the company's bottom line. Among them was Thomas, a senior analyst who had been with the company for over a decade. "This happy brains nonsense is fine for kids," Thomas said during a meeting. "But we're running a business here. We need results, not beanbags and basketball hoops." Jason felt a flicker of frustration, but kept his tone calm. "I understand your concerns, Thomas, but I believe that a positive work environment leads to better results, and the numbers back that up. Our productivity has increased since we made these changes." Thomas crossed his arms, clearly unconvinced. "We'll see how long it lasts." Jason knew he couldn't force everyone to embrace the new culture, but he also knew the importance of staying true to his vision. Instead of pushing back, he decided to lead by example, showing Thomas and others like him that kindness and results weren't mutually exclusive. A test of leadership. The true test of the new culture came during a major project for a high-profile client. The deadline was tight, and tensions were high. Jason worried that the pressure might unravel the progress they'd made. But to his surprise, the team rose to the challenge. Employees stayed late, not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. They supported each other, shared ideas, and found creative solutions to problems. The fun zone even became a brainstorming hub, with employees bouncing ideas around while shooting hoops. When the project was completed on time and received glowing feedback from the client, Jason knew they had passed the test. The culture they had built was strong enough to withstand even the toughest challenges. A father-son reflection. One evening, as Jason and Liam sat on the porch, watching the stars, Jason turned to his son. "You know, Liam," he said, "this whole journey started because of you. You showed me what it means to be a leader." Liam grinned. "And you showed me what it means to believe in someone." Jason felt a lump rise in his throat. "I'm proud of you, buddy. More than I can put into words." Liam leaned his head against Jason's shoulder, and they sat in comfortable silence, the bond between them stronger than ever. A legacy that lasts. Months turned into years, and the changes Liam had inspired continued to flourish. The Leadership Legacy Program became a model for other companies, and Jason's office was recognized as one of the best places to work in the industry. But for Jason, the greatest success wasn't the awards or the accolades. It was the knowledge that he had built something meaningful, not just for his team, but for his son. Liam's lessons had become the foundation of everything Jason did, a constant reminder of the power of kindness, empathy, and courage. And as Jason watched Liam grow, he knew that the legacy of leadership they had created together would continue to inspire others for generations to come. A reflection on success. The weeks following Hamilton Tech's decision to renew their contract were nothing short of transformative for Jason's company. What had begun as a simple experiment, a 10-year-old being boss for a day, had snowballed into a profound cultural shift that reached every corner of the office. Employees were no longer just coworkers. They had become a family united by mutual respect, creativity, and a shared sense of purpose. Jason found himself reflecting on the journey one quiet afternoon in his office. The fun zone was bustling with activity, the distant sound of laughter carrying through the halls. His once stressed team now thrived in an environment where their ideas were valued, their well-being prioritized, and their potential unleashed. But Jason knew that creating change was only the first step. The real challenge was ensuring that this new culture didn't just survive, it thrived. The next generation of leadership. One morning, Jason gathered his team for an important meeting. The room was filled with a mixture of curiosity and anticipation, as employees wondered what their leader had planned next. "Good morning, everyone," Jason began, his voice filled with warmth. "I want to start by saying how proud I am of everything we've accomplished together. This office is no longer just a workplace, it's a community. And that's because of all of you." The team responded with smiles and nods, their pride evident. But Jason continued, "We can't stop here. If we want this culture to last, we need to build a framework that ensures it's passed on to future leaders. That's why I'm excited to announce the launch of our Leadership Legacy Initiative." The room buzzed with excitement as Jason outlined the program. Employees would have the opportunity to mentor one another, take ownership of special projects, and participate in workshops designed to cultivate leadership skills at every level. And Jason added with a grin, "I've asked a very special person to help me kick things off." The door opened, and in walked Liam, holding a stack of brightly colored folders. The team erupted into applause and cheers as the 10-year-old made his way to the front of the room, his confidence shining. Liam's next big idea. "Hi, everyone," Liam began, his voice steady. "My dad told me about this program, and I thought it was a great idea. But I think it needs one more thing." The room fell silent as Liam opened one of the folders, revealing a series of hand-drawn charts and diagrams. He held up a sketch of a tree, its branches labeled with words like teamwork, kindness, and creativity. "This is the leadership tree," Liam explained. "It's a way to show how we're all connected. Every time someone does something awesome, like helping a teammate or coming up with a great idea, they get to add a leaf to the tree. And at the end of the year, we can look back and see how much we've grown." The team was visibly moved by Liam's idea, and Jason felt a swell of pride so powerful it almost brought tears to his eyes. His son's vision for the leadership tree wasn't just a fun activity. It was a symbol of the values they had worked so hard to cultivate. A visit from an old friend. A few days later, Jason received an unexpected email. It was from David, the CEO of Hamilton Tech, who had been so impressed by the changes in Jason's office during their recent visit. "I'd love to stop by again," David wrote. "And this time, I want to bring my leadership team with me. We're looking for inspiration, and it seems like you found the secret sauce." Jason couldn't believe it. Just weeks ago, Hamilton Tech had been on the verge of severing their partnership. Now, they were looking to Jason's company as a model for innovation and culture. When David and his team arrived, Jason and Liam gave them a tour of the office, showcasing the fun zone, the collaborative workspaces, and of course, the leadership tree. David was visibly impressed, taking notes and asking thoughtful questions. "This is remarkable," David said as the tour concluded. "You've created something truly special here. I think we could all learn a lot from you." And from Liam. Liam grinned. "It's not just me. Everyone here is a leader in their own way." David chuckled. "Well said, young man. Well said." A setback and a revelation. As much as things were going well, no journey is without its challenges. A few weeks later, Jason faced a major setback. A key employee, Mark, announced that he was leaving to start his own business. Mark had been a pillar of the company, someone Jason relied on not just for his skills, but for his steady presence and leadership. The news hit Jason hard, and for a moment, he worried that the foundation they had built might begin to crumble. But then Jason remembered something Liam had said during his Boss for a Day speech. "Being a leader is about helping people be their best selves, even if it means letting them go." With that in mind, Jason threw Mark a farewell party, celebrating his contributions and wishing him well on his new journey. During the party, Mark pulled Jason aside. "You know," Mark said, "I wouldn't have had the confidence to do this if it weren't for you and Liam. The culture you've created here, it's inspired me to build something similar." Jason felt a mix of sadness and pride. He realized that leadership wasn't just about holding on to good people, it was about empowering them to grow, even if it meant letting them go. A father-son reflection. That evening, as Jason and Liam sat in their backyard, roasting marshmallows over a fire pit, Jason shared the news about Mark. "I'm proud of him," Jason said, "but it's hard to see him go." Liam nodded thoughtfully. "Maybe it's like when superheroes team up. They don't always stay together, but they help each other be stronger." Jason smiled, marveling once again at his son's wisdom. "That's a good way to look at it, buddy. And you know what? I think you'd make a great superhero." Liam grinned. "Maybe I'll call myself Captain Courage." Jason laughed, pulling his son into a hug. Captain Courage it is. The legacy lives on. As the months turned into years, the Leadership Legacy Initiative grew into something far greater than Jason had ever imagined. The leadership tree became a beloved tradition, with its branches growing fuller each year. Employees who once hesitated to speak up now led projects with confidence, and the company's reputation for innovation and collaboration attracted top talent from around the industry. But the true legacy wasn't just in the office. It was in the countless lives that had been touched by Liam's ideas. Employees who found purpose in their work, clients who saw the value of partnership, and even students in the community who were inspired by the Future Leaders program. And at the heart of it all was the bond between Jason and Liam, a father and son who had learned from each other what it truly meant to lead. A full circle moment. One day, as Jason prepared for a keynote speech at an industry conference, Liam came into his office. "Dad," Liam said, holding out a small folded piece of paper, "I made you something." Jason unfolded the paper to reveal a hand-drawn picture of their office, with the leadership tree standing tall in the center. At the bottom, Liam had written, "A leader isn't someone who stands above everyone else. The leader is someone who lifts everyone up." Jason felt his throat tighten as he read the words. He looked at Liam, his eyes filled with pride and gratitude. "Thank you, buddy," Jason said. "This is the best reminder I could ever ask for." As Jason took the stage later that day, holding Liam's drawing in his hand, he began his speech with the words that had come to define his journey. "A leader isn't someone who stands above everyone else. A leader is someone who lifts everyone up. And sometimes, the best lessons in leadership come from the most unexpected places." The audience erupted into applause, but Jason's thoughts were with Liam, knowing that his son's wisdom and heart had changed everything.